Hi, welcome back to my channel. As usual, before we continue, don't forget to subscribe. The film begins with a woman and a man on a date by the pool. From their conversation, we learn that they are lifeguards at the park. Their names are Cindy and Brett. After their date, they don't go home immediately. Instead, they choose to relax by the pool and play on the water slides. However, shortly after, someone arrives with a machete and brutally kills them both. A few days later, the 2018 graduating class from Hills High School plans their graduation event at a water park called Wet Valley. The idea comes from Alice, an alumni who initiated the As with most graduation events, all the senior students are excited to spend time with their friends. They plan to swim, play on the water slides, and stay at the water park for 3 days. Next, we are introduced to our protagonist, Joes. He and his friends, Chad and Slim, have formed a school band called the Blades. They are set to perform at an elderly man named Cornette, who has worked as a lifeguard and maintenance technician at the water park for 35 years, comes to meet them. Despite his long tenure, Cornette is still fit and full of energy. An elderly man named Cornette, who has worked as a lifeguard and maintenance technician at the water park for 35 years, comes to meet them. Despite his long tenure, Cornette is still fit and full of energy. In the next scene, we are introduced to Joe's father. Joe invites his father, Michael, to come to the water park and watch his performance. We are also introduced to Priskila, one of the park's managers. She is a 1992 graduate from the same school. Slim hears a rumor that Priskila supposedly selects one young graduate from the school every year to play horseback riding with. Meanwhile, the students enjoy the main attraction of the water park, a series of very tall and long water slides. Everything goes smoothly until a group of rebellious teenagers attempts to slide down while carrying bottles of alcohol. This incident prompts Paul, the owner of the park, to take strict action. Cornette, the caretaker, cleans the pool of broken glass and blood. Later that afternoon, Kim and Tommy get into an argument. Meanwhile, Joes is with Chet and Slim. They ask Tommy to find an extension cord. While Tommy is busy setting up the speaker and microphone cables, Joes seizes the opportunity to talk privately with Kim somewhere. They begin getting intimate behind Tommy's back. Meanwhile, Michael, Joe's father, is having dinner with Priskila. Initially, their conversation is unclear, but it is later revealed that Priskila is the wife of Paul, the owner of Wet Valley, and Michael is a wealthy businessman in the area. During dinner, Michael mentions that Paul doesn't realize the true value of what's right in front of him. Josh and Kim then walk toward their friends, as it's almost time for their band to perform. Some of their classmates watch from a distance and comment that something is bound to happen between them. The senior students enjoy the Blades' performance as they play hit songs from the 80s. Kim, watching from the crowd, pretends not to like Josh's singing and comments that the music is too noisy because of their instruments. Michael and Priskila are present to watch Josh perform. At this point, Tommy is still unaware that his girlfriend has been cheating on him. However, one of the seniors records a moment of Josh and Kim getting cozy and shares the video in their group chat. Tommy sees the video and becomes furious. He storms onto the stage and punches Josh in front of everyone. The situation escalates further when Priskila catches her husband cheating with Alice, the girl who appeared at the beginning of the film. Michael then approaches Josh, trying to calm him down. He also asks for Josh's opinion about his plan to purchase the water park. Unbeknownst to them, Alice is eavesdropping and overhears their entire conversation. Alice then went to look for Paul and scolded him for negotiating to sell the water park. As Paul's concubine, Alice felt anxious that Paul might leave her after receiving the money from the sale of the water park. Paul, who was drunk, tried to calm her down and assured her that he would not sell the water park because it was his only source of income. A few hours later, all the senior students were resting, and no one was entering or leaving the water park. However, someone sneaked into one of the water slides and installed 2 large metal blades in an X shape inside it. The next day, Michael, while strolling around the water park, felt he was being followed by a mysterious figure. He was then shot in the leg and taken to a warehouse.
Stop it!
Inside the warehouse, the bodies of Cindy and Brett, 2 lifeguards who were killed at the beginning of the film, were already there. Meanwhile, we learn that Tommy has been fired from his job, and Kim has just ended their relationship. Shortly after, Cornette meets Tommy and tells him that Kim no longer cares about him. However, Tommy still holds on to hope because he's still in love with her. After lunch, Cornette, the water park attendant, turned on the water flow to the slides. No one knew about the sharp metal blades installed inside one of the slides. Meanwhile, Priskila, who also worked at the water park, spent her time getting cozy with Slim instead of doing her job. In the afternoon, the senior students were thrilled to participate in an exciting competition with a $500 prize. They were divided into several teams and would race to see who could slide down the water slide the fastest. Josh joined Chat and Slim, but Slim was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Tommy, who had just been fired, showed up and announced that he was now attending as a visitor, no longer as an employee. He expressed his desire to participate in the competition, but the other senior students opposed the idea, unwilling to let a former employee join in. Since Slim was still nowhere to be found, Josh and Chat decided to ask him to join their team. Meanwhile, Tommy noticed something suspicious. There was water leaking from one of the slides, and he also found pieces of material from the slide, indicating that someone had tampered with it. As all the senior students lined up to ride the slide, Cornette sat casually by the pool, waiting for the competition to begin. Tommy, convinced that one of the slides had been sabotaged, tried to warn everyone not to slide down. Unfortunately, the students ignored him, thinking Tommy was just trying to cause trouble after the incident the night before. A few minutes later, the competition began, organized by the event host with the help of the lifeguards to ensure everything went smoothly. Priskila communicated with Cornette, who was stationed below. Neither of them was aware of the metal blades installed inside one of the slides. Tommy continued to try warning Paul and Priskila that everyone was in danger. Unfortunately, no one believed him, and the competition continued. One of the senior students, frustrated, even shoved Tommy into one of the slides. At the same time, the 3 girls slid down the slide. Just as Tommy had feared, they immediately crashed into the metal blades inside the slide. The water flowing from that slide turned red, followed by chunks of flesh being thrown out. The other visitors screamed in terror, while Cornette, in shock, fell from the lifeguard chair and twisted his ankle. Meanwhile, Tommy, who had been shoved into the slide, was nearing the metal blades. He could only hope that no one else would slide down after him. At the same time, Cornette desperately tried to contact Priskila to stop the competition. Unfortunately, their radio wasn't working properly. Unaware of the chaos below, Priskila instead invited Paul to join the slide, completely oblivious to the danger ahead. Paul chose slide number 3, the one rigged with the metal blades. Meanwhile, Josh rushed to the top, shouting for everyone to stop sliding. Paul, already starting his descent, tried desperately to stop himself from sliding further. However, 2 senior girls and Tommy, who were already trapped near the blades, were pushed further down, resulting in their deaths. No one could have predicted that an event that started full of fun would turn into a horrifying tragedy. Amid the panic, Cornette instructed Chat and Kim to shut off the water pumps in the main building. However, when they entered, they discovered Michael's body Josh's father alongside the 2 lifeguards' corpses. Paul, unable to fight against the strong water current, was eventually swept down the slide, becoming the next horrifying victim. After the tragedy, Josh was informed by a lawyer that his father had left him a substantial inheritance. However, there was one unresolved matter. His father's plan to purchase Wet Valley Water Park. The plan was to demolish the water park and replace it with a $20 million shopping complex. Since Paul, the owner of the water park, had died in the incident, Priskila became the sole heir, entitled to the proceeds from the transaction. The film ends with Priskila smiling in satisfaction. A flashback reveals a traumatic memory from years ago, showing that Priskila had been mistreated at this very water park, with no one caring enough to help her. We also see glimpses of her past, hinting that she had witnessed numerous tragedies since childhood. From all these clues, we can conclude that the mastermind behind the 2018 tragedy was Priskila. It's highly likely that she meticulously planned everything, both as an act of revenge and as a way to secure the inheritance. Alright guys, that's my take on this movie. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section.